Hey guys, welcome to the Becoming series, exploring the deep truths and the principles that will enable you become everything you were created to be and do. So, have you ever felt that your life was out of control, right? In whatever aspect, whether it was mentally, you know, you just feel that mentally your mind seems to be out of control. You're just thinking weird thoughts. Um, you're just thinking about somebody all the time, or some other things all the time, or financially, your financial life is out of control. You're deep in debt, and you're wondering how you got there. Emotionally, you're out of control. You just find yourself in anger spurts, right? Just lashing out at people for no reason, or sinking into deep depression for no reason, or for no seemingly justifiable reason. Your life just seems to be out of control. Now, this is something that tends to happen to a lot of people, right? And in those circumstances, it's very easy for you to think that somebody's after you. You're being controlled by some evil force. Um, and things are happening to you that other people cannot relate to, right? But even though I'm not discounting the fact that there are evil forces in this world that want to control people, I think a lot of the time what we tend to do is to assist those evil forces. And what do I mean? I mean that nobody really has the power to control you if you didn't give it to them. Now, that's a very deep statement. But essentially, what it means is that how we're able to do things on earth in this world, everything that you see around you that has been executed, whether it's a country, a government, it came about when people exercised their wills. No, not the will that you write when you want to give out your stuff at the end of your life. I'm talking about your will, your human will. Whenever you say I will, right? What you're doing is to exercise that force that you have that enables you to execute something. We've talked about the power of ideas and the power of imagination, right? But ideas and imagination will continue to remain ideas and imagination if they're not translated from the intangible to the tangible. So, what do I mean? If I had the idea for this phone, or I could imagine this phone, right? As long as it remains a concept, an idea, or something I can see in my head, and I don't do anything about it, it will continue to remain in my head. We wouldn't have this phone physically. So, what would I need to do to translate that idea from its intangible state to a physical one that we can touch and see and hold? It means that I must do something, or I must do a certain number of things. It means that I shouldn't stop at the point of conceptualization or idea or imagination. I need to physically act. I need to say, okay, fine, I can see this thing in my head. Now I need to set about designing it. I need to get the materials together that would make up its various components. I need to physically put all those together. But you won't do those things if you don't exercise your will. It is when you say, I will, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do this stuff, right? That is when you start to translate whatever is in your head to reality. That is when ideas leave ideation state and start to become something physical that someone else can see or touch or visualize, right? In the physical. So your will is the most powerful force, right? The human will is the most powerful force on the face of the earth. Now, what does that have to do with control? When you cede your will to something else or someone else, whoever has control of your will automatically has control of your life. Do you get it? Now, I'm sure most of us wouldn't willingly want to, give our will to somebody else or to something else. But the thing is, you might not really appreciate how this whole thing works. Now, how does it work? Whatever you see constantly, whatever you read constantly, right? Whatever you're exposed to constantly, we talked about repetition, right? Whatever you see, hear, read, all of that, what your senses, your five senses are constantly being exposed to is constantly feeding you ideas. We've talked about ideas, right? Now, when ideas are repeated to you over and over again, and we've talked about this as well, they start to be downloaded into your subconscious mind, which, as I've said previously, is the root. That's who you are, your subconscious mind. That is the subconscious mind is the seat of your will. Now, if you've been exposed to the wrong ideas, so for instance, if you tend to watch or listen to or read stuff about violence, right? People killing each other, murders and all that, and you're constantly being exposed to that, what do you think will happen to you over time? Deep in your heart, you may not necessarily be a murderous person or a bad person, right? But because you've been exposed to this stuff, an incident would happen one day that would trigger these ideas that you conceptualized and which have been embedded in your heart. And what do? You just lash out. And you're probably wondering immediately afterwards that why did I do that? What? But you haven't realized that it is a function of all the things that you have taken in previously and that had taken root in your heart and had started to spring up and started to generate, because it is, as the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart the mouth really speaks. you know things don't just happen. They happen out of the things that we do happen out of the things that we have stored up inside our heads. So what do you need to do if you want to ensure that your life follows a particular trajectory? It means that you must take control. And how do you take control? It means that you must regulate whatever you're being exposed to physically. Now, the media is a very powerful force, and what it does is to daily feed us information, not all of which may be right for us. So it depends on the information that you take in, or more importantly, that you allow to take in, because that information over time starts to become a series of deposits, which ultimately will impact what you do. So for you to take control, it means that you must decide. I'm going to stop listening to this. I'm going to stop watching this. Going to stop reading this. I'm going to stop hanging out with this person, and I'm going to start following some other sources of information which would be of benefit to me. And this cuts across anything you want to do in life. If you have a goal, if you have a target, if you want to become somebody, then you must know the things that you need to do, right? And start doing them. You must actively decide to start doing them and do them. You must execute the plan. And that means, we've talked about consistency. We've talked about repetition. You must do those things over and over again in order for you to have control, to take control. Otherwise, you'll be left at the mercy of whatever sources of information you're exposing yourself to, which may not be good for you, right? So, in order for you to take control of your life, you have to be deliberate about what you expose yourself to. Hope this helps.